As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. Remember the Game is brought to you by my website, abcomedy.net. As you may or may not know, I'm a comedian by night. And as much as I love talking about old video games, telling jokes is how I actually pay my bills. So please check out my website. In addition to old episodes of this podcast, you'll find my blog, videos of my stand-up, all of my upcoming shows, and my contact information. If you need a comedian for your next fundraiser, corporate event, house party, whatever you got going on, hit me up. Again, it's abcomedy.net. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe to it. Please leave us a good review. And most importantly, please tell a friend. I'd really appreciate it. There'll be a new episode every single Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Remember the Game. My name is Adam Blank, and this is my retro gaming podcast. Every week, a friend of mine will come over, and the two of us will sit down like kids on a playground in the 90s and just talk about a video game we love from yesterday. There's no homework. There's no research. I don't bring up a lot of stats. If you're new to the show, welcome. Please don't expect the most scientific, in-depth podcast of all time. We're just nerds talking video games. This week, we remember the game Super Mario Bros. 3 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This is has to be considered one of the greatest video games of all time, doesn't it? I mean, it's Super Mario Bros. 3. Everybody knows this game. That yellow background. Super Mario Bros. 3. I'm going to try a couple of new things this week. I'm not going to try to talk about the game as much during the intro. I'm going to save that for the conversation with my guest. But I do have a couple of things I need to plug. We are on Twitter. If you are on that whole tweeting thing and you don't follow us, please throw us a follow. It's at Member the Game, just like Remember the Game, but without RE at the beginning. At Member the Game. We follow everybody back. We also have a Facebook page now. If you're one of those Facebook geeks, you can find us there. Facebook.com/memberthegame. Same thing. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's at AdamBlank17. Adam BLANK17. That's where I post about this podcast there. Maybe I'll start its own Instagram, but I'm not yet. I want to try something else new and just kind of quickly talk about the games I'm playing this week before I get into the remembering. For those of you that don't know, I recently became a single console gamer. There was a point where I had an Xbox One, a PS4, my 3DS, my Vita, my Switch, and I just found it was too much to keep up with, and it was actually taken away from the enjoyment, of the hobby to have such a huge backlog to worry about. So I sold everything except my Switch. I kept that one because I do a lot of work on the road. I'm not home very much, and it's the perfect compatible little system. So I love it. I love the Switch. So if you're not a Nintendo Switch gamer, this segment may not do much for you, but it's not going to be a long segment. So see how it goes. Anyway, for the last 7 days, I've been primarily playing Into the Breach. It's an indie game. I guess it originally came out on PC. Now it's on the Switch. It's one of those strategy games. I don't know is it called real-time strategy? I guess. I don't know. It's like a board game, kind of like Fire Emblem, Mario Rabbids, XCOM type game. And it's roguelike as well. So each game is different, and it is fucking awesome. It's dirt cheap. It's like $15 if you've got a Switch and you enjoy those types of games at all. Highly recommended. Shout out to my buddy Chris for the recommendation. And then I've also hopped back on the Mario Kart 8 bandwagon. That game is like one of my favorite games probably of all time. I love that video game, and I'll never get tired of it. And play as Bowser. If you don't play as Bowser, you're wrong. So that's primarily what I've been playing this week. I don't know if I'll keep mentioning that, but just trying new things. I got a lot of ideas for this podcast. I had kicked around the idea of going to 2 episodes a week. I think I'm going to keep it at 1 for now. We are growing, and I'm really happy with that. There's only so many video games, and I'm afraid if I do 2 a week, I'll start burning through them too fast. I'm also considering getting into more recent, and when I say recent, I'm thinking like GameCube, Xbox, PS2, maybe even the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii eras, but I'm not sure yet. I got tons of retro ones on the go right now. I got a ton of episodes saved up for you guys. I won't be missing any more weeks. I know I did miss a week a little while ago. That's not going to happen again. And I've tried a couple of different things. You're going to see them coming up in the next few weeks or so. A couple of different ideas, just talking video games in general. So thank all of you guys seriously for listening, and I mean that. And I know I say it at the top, and I say it at the end, and I say it all the time. But really, I would be doing this podcast even if I had like 3 listeners because it's so much fun for me. But I really am starting to see a little bit of traction with my numbers. And I really want to try to grow this thing. So sincerely, thank you so much if you like the show. And if you do, please tell someone. Tell a friend. Everyone has friends they grew up with playing old video games. Let's just all nerd out together. So this is a safe space for us nerds. We can all be geeks together, okay? With that said, you guys, I am going to cue the music and get to my chat with my... Oh, yeah, I should have actually said it right off the hop, and I don't think I did. My guest this week is a returning guest. He's my good buddy, Miklos Blackshaw, a comedian from here in Edmonton. And sit back, relax, and trip on the nostalgia as Miklos and I take you down memory lane to a little stop called Super Mario Brothers 3. Thanks, guys. Here we go. So this one, I don't know how long this one's going to go. I've only ever done one other NES game, and honestly, after about 15 or 20 minutes, you kind of run out of shit to talk about, because they're not the deepest games in the world.
Oh man, this actual game had a ton of shit in it, though.
That's true.
It was one of probably the biggest Nintendo games for a while.
Oh, okay. So as you will have known from the intro, we are talking Super Mario Brothers 3. I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's, it has to be the ace of the Nintendo library. To me, the only possible game you put ahead of it is Legend of Zelda.
Oh, even then, man.
And that's only if you're like a diehard. I'm like, it's like Super Mario Brothers 3 was gaming perfection.
Everybody fucking had this game.
Everybody
has this game. You go to someone's house, you played it. Mm-hmm. Everyone knew it. Like all these little tricks.
Dude, it was like, it's like the music, because you guys will have heard the music. Like you and I didn't listen to it, but I always put the music at the beginning of the game. That song, like that opening theme to Super Mario Brothers 3 and like that overworld map is like, it for World 1 is like...
that the curtain coming up.
Yeah. It's like, that's the theme of most people's childhoods, like from our days. Because you didn't even have to have a Nintendo and you fucking played Super Mario Brothers 3, right?
Man.
There was a movie. Did you ever see The Wizard?
No.
Oh, it's so stupid. It stars what's the name of the kid from The Wonder Years?
Oh,
Fred Savage.
Yeah, Fred Savage.
And it's like this kid's addicted to or he's like obsessed with Nintendo. And then at the end of the movie, it's all about the launch of Super Mario Brothers 3. And it was like they put it out just to promote Super Mario Brothers 3. And there was toys at McDonald's. They had their own cartoon show.
Oh, I remember the cartoon show.
Yeah,
I remember the cartoon.
Like, man,
I watched that. They paired that with the Legend of Zelda cartoon on Saturdays.
Well, no, okay, but there was a Super Mario Brothers Super Show
Yeah.
that paired with Zelda, but then they
Okay.
did like a Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon where they introduced like the Koopa Kids, and it was still the same voice for like Bowser and stuff, but like they're so bad. I bought them on DVD years ago and tried watching them, and I ended up giving them to my nephew. I was like, this kind of sucks.
I thought about it back in the days of HMV, but
Yeah, but I don't know. It's one of the I don't think those cartoons have stood the test of time quite like the video games.
no,
have.
not at all, man. I have it on my Wii. I play it every once in a while.
Super Mario Brothers 3? Yeah, dude, it's on everything, right?
Oh,
like,
man.
I'm thinking about how many copies I've bought of that game, because I had it on the Nintendo. I had it on Super Mario Brothers All-Stars for the Super Nintendo. I bought it on about every virtual console it's ever been available on. Now Switch has its Nintendo Online service, and it has, like, it launched with 20 NES games, and the diamond of the punch was Super Mario Brothers. Like, that's what everybody wanted, was Super Mario Brothers 3. And it never gets old.
No.
It really doesn't. Like,
that was the first game that really incorporated the always run feature.
Oh, yeah.
Holding down B.
It drives me. I don't think my girlfriend listens to this one, but this podcast. I kind of hope she doesn't now. It drives me fucking bananas when I play Mario with someone and they don't run.
It's the worst.
I'm like, what are you? I'm like, you won't make these jumps. It's designed to run.
You're always running. Always. My ex used to do that too. When we got it for the Wii, she had a job at BioWare as a game tester.
Okay.
And we would play Super Mario Brothers 3 just for fun. And everything went, I would beat a level, and she would die, and I would beat that level. And I was like, why aren't you running all the time? All of the time. This game is impossible if you're not running.
It's designed to play like that. I don't even think it would work that way. You'd miss so many jumps and things.
Especially once you get like the leaf or the raccoon suit. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you can start flying everywhere, wow, jeez.
Yeah. So it's dude, I'll tell you, because the original Super Mario Bros. Is another one that everyone's like. I would like to do one of these episodes on that game at some point, less to break down the game and more of just of like I don't care what anyone says. That game is the godfather of video games. Like, that one's the one that restarted the engine and got everyone playing video games. And then Super Mario Brothers 2, like, not the Doki Doki Panic throwing vegetable style game, but the Lost Levels version of Super Mario Brothers 2 is almost identical to the original Super Mario Bros. And its graphics and all that stuff. They just, tweaked it and tried to make it better. And it's really remarkable the leap they made going into Super Mario Brothers 3. Like, it's like if you just saw those two games, you'd never guess they were on the same console. Like, they look night and day.
Oh man.
Like the graphics, like you said, right off the hop, and I always love
choosing the levels too, like
the map. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was mind blowing.
The mini games, like
that stupid card game.
Oh yeah,
would always pop up. And then when you if you played 2-player, I know me and my brother would play 2-player. If that card game popped up, it was like a rule, like take turns or like let me play at this time. You know what I mean? Because we'd fight over that.
We now that it's out, we go online and just find we'll hit like one square. And we'll see, because they have like all of the things online, all the pictures, so you can go. And we just cheat as much as we can.
Oh yeah,
clear them
because you stack it up, right? Yeah. And then you end up with so many items.
And there was that like mushroom house where you had to like time it so it landed. to make the picture.
The 3 to get the lives. Yeah, I always sucked at. I never got good at that.
Yeah,
never got good at it.
I remember being a kid doing it all the time, but now I do it. I'm like, man, how did I do this?
Maybe it's like being old and the reflexes slow down, but you're just like bullshit. I hit it at the right time. Go to hell.
What are you talking about?
No, but that said, like it's a fucking sick game. Like there is a lot to talk about. You're right. The lives don't particularly matter.
No, you can continue and continue.
You can continue, and really like. It's not the hardest game in the world.
You're not pumping in quarters.
No.
That was a big thing. I think that games like that kind of killed arcade games.
Oh yeah, stuff like the Turtles arcade game, Simpsons, X-Men, all those old beat 'em ups and stuff were designed to kill you. Yeah. So you'd pump more tokens in and spend more money. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mario's not like. I mean, I personally to this day find the original Super Mario Bros. Harder than Super Mario Bros. 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, Super Mario Bros., I can get to World 8 pretty much in my sleep, but I need some luck sometimes to get through. Like, World 8 can be tough, man. Yeah. Fucking Hammer Brothers.
Super Mario Bros. 3, man. Like, I tried to do just a couple of years ago to go and beat every level. Because it's easy just to get the flutes. You can get the two of them in the first world, and then if you want, get the third one.
Yeah.
At the end of that one, a second world. And it was it was easy once you get going.
Well, yeah.
And then you're like, oh, warp into level 8.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the things about Super Mario Brothers 3 is like, and I was thinking about this today as you and I were prepping for this podcast. Like World 1 to World 4, I know like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Like the regular world, desert, water, giant. Giant world is the supreme. Like everyone, that first time you go to Giant World is awesome every time, right?
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing.
It's so much fun.
But 5, 6, 7,
Five's the one with where you got to like climb the tower.
and then you play a second half of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what always fucked up me and my friends when we played that is someone would have to continue always in that world. And then you'd have to do that level again where you had to like go up
Climb the tower. Yeah, which I thought was really cool. Like, and honestly, as a kid, I didn't really even clue in that's exactly what you were doing. And now, like you look, it didn't take me that long. And then you look at it and you're like, oh yeah. So the end of this first half, because you'd start the first half of World 5 and you're like, where the fuck's the castle? Like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? And then you realize you have to climb this tower and go up to this clouds and then play the second half of the world up in the clouds. And the cool thing is you can see the original world down below.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, you know what that is? That's one of the first examples of that Nintendo polish and that Nintendo charm they put in their games. You know what I mean? Those little extra things that they care so much, and it's so obvious, you know?
Yeah, having to replay all those levels over and over and over because you missed that. Like, it was kind of neat that they did that. You continue all your levels that your character beat, flip back over.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, because depending on how you wanted to play, you could, say, oh, I beat all these worlds, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Right? And then there was that like, old school, because it was in something else. I'm trying to remember what it was, but you could, like, go on somebody's level that they beat and then, like, challenge them to that game where all the, like, things come in.
Well, yeah. Oh God, man, my brother and I used to beat the shit out of each other at that. Because if you don't know, when you play 2-player, you could. Yeah, I can remember if it was you had to go to a level someone beat or go to their space or something.
Level they beat, and you could challenge.
You could challenge them, and then what you could do is actually battle for the cards.
Yeah.
That you got at the end of the level. You could steal each other's cards,
which was kind of neat too, because you could be like, "Hey, man, I've got a flower and you've got a star." And we each have one of them, and we could just be like, "Hey, man, you want to trade?
Yeah,
like, you need more lives. I'll give you my star."
You could work together if you wanted to, or you could completely fuck each
other
over.
I'm stealing.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame.
In all your lives.
And you know what I didn't realize until years later when I played it? That was based on the original Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Like the original Mario Brothers game, which I had no idea. I never played that as a kid. And I was like, that's just another little thing Nintendo does where they're like, even back then they knew like, this catalog they have of games, you know what I mean?
I thought you having the ability to get like a cache of items so you could start a level with something was amazing.
And it like, I'm like, because I would always save them.
Yeah.
Like save them, like, I mean, the first 4 worlds, you don't need any of them. Maybe you'd use like a star to get by like a Hammer Brother, or like if you were little, you get by one of the big Hammer Brothers or something. And then even World 5, the only levels, I remember World 5 starting to get a little tricky when you were up in the sky and there were those fucking flying fireball spitting cannonballs with the fire tails that would follow you around. Oh God! Like,
well,
I
even just
hated
making
them.
some of the jumps too on those levels, like
Yeah.
having the raccoon suit where you could just
Yeah.
kind of like float down, or not have to worry as much about making a jump.
Yeah. Like that's where it started to come in handy. There's a level in 5 where you have to jump from the red beetles to the red beetles. That's fucking hard, man. Like
Yeah.
I find that hard now. As a kid, that was P-wing shit.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
let's skip this one.
Let's skip this one. Let's see if we can get out of here. You know.
And then once you get into 6 where it's ice.
that ice level was crazy.
That's when shit starts to pick up, and you get into the second half of that map, like when it goes to the where the screen would slide over, and you get to the second half. I remember there being like a maze level in there that I would always get fucking lost in, but like that's where it got hard. And then if you got through World 6 and you went to World 7, the Pipe World,
with all the Hammer Brothers stuff. Oh my god,
Pipe
that's where you
World
got
was
the Hammer Brothers suit.
that was
Nuts. You start throwing hammers at everything. That was so much fun. Screw fireballs. I want to throw hammers.
Yeah. And honestly, like it kind of sucked. Like it was hard to aim. They didn't.
Oh
really,
yeah, they
it
just went up.
It
right?
just looked cool.
Yeah,
all.
it just looked cool.
And then by the time you got to World 8, like that's where you had to save your power. Like if you burned your power ups early, you're fucked.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're going to need them in those later worlds.
There was
you know?
there's like the one part with like the bridge, and like you go across, and it'd just be like a random level,
or those hands would pop up
yeah,
and grab you.
yeah.
Oh fuck.
right? But you'd going across, and there's all these spaces, and you'd be like, "No, you're gonna actually have to play this level."
Yeah.
You're like, "What's going on?"
And it was so random,
and
yeah.
it was never the same.
It was great. And that's where I was gonna go with that. Is like because I was bad as a kid. You'd use the warp whistles.
Yeah.
And then I'd skip 5, 6, 7 for sure.
Oh yeah.
And so I'd end up in Dark World, World 8, and which was fucking hard. And like so now as an adult, whenever I do play Super Mario Brothers, I don't even collect the warp whistles because I'm not like. In hindsight, it was kind of cool that they were in because you couldn't save your game back then. That's a long game. Like to play that in one, like to play the original Super Mario Brothers in one sitting.
all eight worlds too.
Yeah.
You're not doing it.
No, like it's an afternoon.
I
you know?
remember leaving my Nintendo on.
I was gonna say the same thing.
It's like put something in front of it, so my mom thought it was off. Turn the TV down.
That's what you would do. Is you
Yeah.
turn the TV off, put something in front of the Nintendo so it didn't look like it was on, and then like when you had to go for dinner or whatever, and then go and
like,
do.
oh
your
man,
thing.
I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
No.
And like in hindsight, yeah, it's probably terrible. But yeah, because it was like I'm not starting over. I put like 3 hours of work into this.
Yeah, man.
So it was a long game, man. But it was like
Some of the hidden stuff too, like the ghost ship. You remember, like I was just thinking about that on the way over. I was like, man, we used to try so hard to get those ghost ships because you had to get, like, depending on what worlds you were finishing, and it wasn't every time. It was like random.
yeah.
You wanted to get, like, if you were in the first level of the world, you wanted to get 11 coins. Finish it with 11.
And that was the ship that would show up that was covered in coins.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you first said that, I was like, no, I don't. But yeah, I do remember that.
And
Yeah.
they had one of those for every world.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out, like, even like later on how to keep getting them.
And like you mentioned earlier, dude, that there was alternate paths. It
Yeah.
wasn't just level 1, level 2, level 3. Like we'd never really seen anything like that before in a platform. Like it's obviously like commonplace now.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was so cool to know that you could skip levels.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this level's hard. I'll go around
Yeah.
this one. And like the item houses and the games that you could play, and it, like you could, it just in World 3 you could use the hammer and then get in the canoe,
yeah.
and float over to like the left 2 screens and get a ton of like item houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was just so big. Like even by today's standards, it's not a small game.
No, not at all.
You know,
Even
like
today's standards, man. I'm so lucky you can save on the Wii.
isn't that the truth, man?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Hey,
Like,
man, you can save now. Oh, sweet.
They put
I am
save
doing
states.
that. I'm doing
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's where I was gonna go with the warp whistles. Is I do think maybe that was part of their design philosophy was just like
Yeah.
we can't save, we can't. It's a long game.
It's a long game.
The whistles weren't hard to find. Like they were in the
Well,
well,
there's the one where you had to know the trick, right? Like you had to sit on the
duck on the white block,
duck on the white block, and you could go behind everything,
which was
Everyone's
so
like-
cool too.
It's like, well, you can do this, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
as soon as you figured it out, like, wow, where can I go with this?
Yeah, but it was like I remember that being like the first big like schoolyard game rumor. Like that's
Yeah.
one of the earliest memories of that. Is like so we talked about that like Nintendo at school, Super Mario Brothers 3, and then that's what we were talking about is how to get the warp whistle. I didn't know that third warp whistle existed forever. with the hammer in World 2 where you go to that. I had no idea. And then finally one of my friends told me about it and I didn't even believe them. And then I tried it and was like, oh my God.
What do you need 3 for?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And then you do like the trick where you use 2 of them, right? And then you'd go, because if you're in World 2 and you use it, then you go to 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
You go to any of those, use the warp whistle, you go to 8.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do I need the 3rd one for?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, maybe. And you use it in 8, you just go right back to 8. You're like,
It's just cool to get it. It was, and then that's something else I wanted to talk about. And you mentioned this earlier is the fucking power-ups, man.
Oh.
Because it was like, see that like, I mean, the original Mario had the mushrooms and the power, or the flowers and the stars. And then in Mario 2, there really wasn't anything. There was just the stars, really. But then in Mario 3, it was like, because Nintendo now has had so many fucking crazy mushrooms. Like you become a cat, you become a spring, a bee. There's all these fucking crazy things. But Mario 3 was the one where they were just like, yeah, let's fucking turn it up to 10.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't,
you could be a frog.
Yeah. So like, because there was the mushroom and the flower, which were cool. The leaf, which is like, for my money, okay. So I was gonna say it's the best power up ever. But I still think that the cape from Mario World,
same thing.
It is, but the cape you can fly over a whole level. The raccoon
if you were really
dies.
good at it, right?
Yeah.
You could do the bouncing.
The leaf dies.
Yeah.
Right. But like, so the leaf was fucking incredible. Like to be able to fly, and that was one of the things that I found so cool about Super Mario Brothers 3 as well was like the freedom.
Yeah.
Because when you would fly up. I mean, like, if you really went high up or you use, like, the P-Wing, you go out of the screen. But, like, almost every level had, like shit built above the level.
Yeah, like, hey, you can fly up here?
Yeah.
You get some things?
So then you'd go back and start just flying up in every area just to see what you could find. You know what I mean? And if you found, like, a pipe or something, you were like, cool.
Exploring that game was just unreal.
Yeah.
Especially as a kid. Like,
Before the internet, when you couldn't look up where everything was.
Yeah,
man, it was and then you'd find shit. So then you go to school the next day and be like, dude,
like,
go here. There's this.
Yeah, you go to your friend's house, like, warp to the level. Like, hey, check this out. You can get this.
What a huge game. So there was the leaf, there was the frog suit, which I thought was awesome. I used to use it above ground all the time because I thought he looked cool. And like really looking back on it, it's a pretty shitty item above ground.
It made it harder for something.
It did. Oh yeah. So I was thinking about that. So like we had a Game Genie when we were kids.
Okay.
And one of the codes you could put in, because the Game Genie came with this huge book of codes, right? And one of the codes you could get for Super Mario Brothers 3 was you could constantly keep a power, and it was like hammer suit, frog suit, leaf, whatever.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times you got hit, you'd never lose the item. And so I used the frog suit one time, and I was like, I want to play the whole game as the frog suit. And you hit a point, and I don't remember where it is. I want to say about World 5, where you have to run and slide, like duck and slide under this brick, and you can't do that as the frog. And you can't lose the item with the Gagey. I remember being so mad because I spent like 3 hours playing it. I was having a great time as Frog Mario, and then I couldn't get past. Like there was no way past this, and I was like, God damn it! But the frog suit, like underwater, was
it was amazing.
The bee's knee. I almost felt like he was cheating. I mean, like it was too easy. Like just up, down, left, right. It was so easy.
It reminds me like in other Mario games when you could hold something, like in Super Mario World, where you could hold like the key or the POW. Yeah. And you could run, and it just like always floated you.
It was like having like a wakeboard or something, and you would just like glide around on it. That is kind of what the frog suit was, but it was cool. And I will say, as much as I thought it was cheating, there's a couple underwater levels. Like there's one where you're steering through all those jellyfish.
Oh yeah,
and like that's pretty fucking hard without a frog suit, man. Yeah, like because it's moving on its own.
Doing the like little hop up and down.
Yeah.
Waiting, hopping up.
Oh, it's tough. So that was cool. And then, like you said, the Hammer Brothers suit was pretty novelty. Like it was it was fun. They only got 2 or 3 of them too. Like they weren't easy to find.
And they were all like level 7.
Yeah, like right near the end.
People who had just warped never ever used them.
Yeah,
they never knew about them.
Yeah, it's like it. And honestly, the hammer was kind of used. Like it was neat if you could aim it. Well, but it didn't aim very well.
There was 2 if you beat the game the first time, and you started a new game. You would have an item, like your whole items list would just be Power Wings.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then if you beat it again, then you get like a whole new set of things. So we used to like try and go as far as we could.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
Wow. Fuck, game's been up for like 30 years, and I'm still learning things about that game. I didn't know that. So is there one where you get all hammer suits?
I assume. I don't remember
Beat
getting
the
that
game
far.
a dozen times and you can have all hammer suits.
You have all hammer suits. You just like crush in the first level. Just
Yeah. And then it gets I don't know. They were cool though. He looked so cool in that
Could you
suit,
imagine
too.
fighting all the bosses with like the hammer suits? 'Cause
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
like throw.
I wonder how fast a hammer suit kills one of the Koopa kids.
Yeah, I wonder. No,
I'm sure someone listening to this is like, it's 3 hammers, you stupid fuck. But like, just like you were with our Pokemon episode, where you're
yeah.
like, don't do that, yo.
Oh man, I was.
When
you guys were like, stones are useless. I was like, I hate you so much because they're so useful. Because you'll be power leveling someone, and you'll be like, man, I gotta get this move. Because sometimes you can only get them if you leveled up one of the guys to a certain point,
right?
And there's lots of them are really good moves. So.
Right. I don't know. I'm sure almost every episode of this, someone has been listening and been like, no, because it's the game they know better than anybody. Super Mario Brothers 3, I didn't know that. So there was the Hammer Brothers suit. There was actually my favorite power up from Super Mario Brothers 3 is the Tanuki suit. Just because I think he looks so fucking cool in it. Because it looks like this giant onesie that he barely fits in.
Yeah.
Because he just looks so fat in it. And it was basically the raccoon suit, but then you could turn into that statue.
Oh yeah,
that was really pretty useless most of the time. It was pretty hard to use.
It was for like, I want to say like ghosts and anything that like there were a couple levels where things would be coming at you all the time.
It had the odd moment.
So
where
you'd
it
be
was
like,
kinda
oh man, I'm
handy.
going to be stoned. I'm going to get hit with a bullet or a bomb.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh, cool. Now it's done. I'm going to keep moving.
I just thought he looked like it. To me, that's the most out there power up. Like I've read stuff where like they wanted to put a thing where he would turn into like a minotaur and stuff in this game, and they just couldn't make it work. The Tanuki suit, like, I mean, you have to wonder what you're smoking to come up with any of the stuff that goes into a Mario game. But the Tanuki suit was just like, so what is it? Okay, well, basically he's gonna wear a raccoon's fur, and it's gonna look like he just pulled it over himself, and it barely fits. But then if you hold down and hit the button, he will turn into a Buddhist statue, and then nothing can touch him. And they're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
let's put
let's
that
do
in.
that. You know.
So,
But also he can fly.
He can fly.
Just like if he had the raccoon tail.
I just thought he was a cooler looking version of the raccoon suit. Like I love the Tanuki
that was a
suit.
hard thing to get as well.
What's that?
The
Tanuki. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of those either.
No.
And then there was the P-Wings, which were basically just like,
Cheat.
yeah, they were basically
Hey,
like,
skip a level.
hey, you can't beat this level, use this. Because there was the Cloud too.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
Cloud fucking sucked, because if
No.
you skipped a level and then couldn't beat the next level,
then you had to go all the way back.
yeah, you were like, God, no, now I'm out of Cloud.
Well, it was kind of neat. We used to use it for things like, to get an item. You're like, oh man, I can't beat this level. Or I could really use, I know there's, say like a leaf behind an item box.
Yeah.
Or like, because if you beat the level, someone could come in and get it.
Right.
So you could go and get the leaf.
Oh, yeah. It's just like
And-
can be competitive and just skip ahead and get items and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's like, hey, I don't want you to get the leaf or the frog suit or whatever.
Yeah.
Because something's coming up, so I'm gonna go get it.
That's
Then I have
beautiful.
to come back and beat the level anyways.
Yeah.
So
I never thought of that. Yeah, that's because I just, when my brother and I would play, we'd make like, we had to like, I remember my mom like basically sitting us down and just being like, "No, he gets this one, then you get this," because it was fights. And we're like, we should be working together, but no, fuck that.
No. Kids are always so competitive. So
Yeah,
especially siblings.
oh, dude, it was the best. And then like, actually, that's another thing Super Mario Brothers 3 did right, was in Super Mario Brothers 1, when you played 2-player, you played till you died.
Yeah,
And so like, even as a kid, I could get well into like World 4 unless I fucked something up before I died. So my brother would wait. I'd play my turn, finally die. He'd get his turn, and then I would like reach over and like hit the button to like kill him so that I could play again. Because I'm like, I don't want to wait. Whereas with Super Mario Brothers 3, it was just back and forth. Infinitely better system, because you could work together, like you said, the trading cards or that kind of shit, or you could totally fuck each other over, which I thought was hilarious.
You could be either really competitive or very cooperative. You
Yeah.
could be either or.
Another thing that Mario Brothers 3 did that I fell in love with, that I love to this day, is it introduced the Koopa Kids. I love the Koopa, except Bowser Jr., who was not in that one. He's not around forever. Bowser Jr. fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But the 7 Koopa Kids are rad. And they all look awesome, and they all have awesome names. I loved them in that game. Like, I used to draw them all the time.
I absolutely loved every time you beat a castle that it always looked like Toad was sucking himself off.
Yeah, dude.
We used to do that all the time. Like, look, Toad. It's like, and as a kid, you were like, ew, gross. Now as an adult, I'm like, fucking lucky Toad. Being that flexible.
I never thought of that, but you're right though. He totally like the way he does like the head up and down. I'm acting it out for some fucking reason now. Yeah, I loved it. I loved that it wasn't just like fight Bowser, fight Bowser, fight Bowser, fight Bowser.
And it was the first time you had, a bunch of bosses who were essentially the same but did different things. Like some of them had wands, some of them jumped, some of them climbed walls. And,
you get near the end and like, is it Lemmy or Lemmy? Which one's the little stupid looking one? He's my favorite one, the one with the goofy eyes. Yeah, I'm kind of biased, but he's my favorite one. And he's on the ball and he shoots more balls. And like that gets hard. If you don't kill him fast, the screen fills up and then you're fucked. So I don't know. I love the idea of them. Like there was Boom Boom. The easiest boss fight in the history of video games.
Oh, it's when they introduced the Big Bertha too, the giant fish that would eat you.
Oh, that fucking fish
come out of nowhere.
Just the bane of my existence as a childhood was that fucking fish. I hated him so much.
You're like, oh man, this shouldn't be too hard. Some little fish jumping up. You can jump on them. This guy comes out and eats you. You're like, what the? To
this day, because like Mario's one of the few games that my girlfriend will play with me, and to this day, when we play a game with that in it, like when the level starts and it does that like bump 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 bump, and you see that you're on platforms that are going up and down in the water, and that fucking giant fish comes in right away, you're like motherfucker, because that's like they're hard, man. I hate that. If you fall into the water, you're done. Yeah, you fight and fight and fight, but you're done.
Yeah, watching your friends fall in the water and everyone's just like on their seat like, when is he gonna die? And then he like pops up, you're like, what?
Yeah, it's the best. It's so good. So I used to like, those were the levels I would like use stars and flowers on.
That was one of those things too, like you'd be like, oh man, I have this star, I'm totally gonna kill her, and you do it and you're like, oh, that's so awesome. Your star runs out back, like, oh no.
Yeah, like just 15 seconds and then he's back. Like,
what is going on here?
I hate those fish.
The sun from the
Is there a more fucking hated villain in Mario video games than that fucking sun? Oh. And the worst part was like in World 2, he was hard and he sucked. But then in World 8, when it's complete night, there's a part where you have to deal with him again, and it's so much harder. And like, when you kill him, because you can kill him like with a shell, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the best feeling in the history of the play. Like I would die on like trying to kill him instead of just going. Oh, I forgot all about the sun. I hate the sun.
They were like that. Yeah, those quicksand levels. There were a few where like it was one of those things where you're like, oh no, I didn't make the jump, and you like fall down. You're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Like there's a secret area, so like you spend a ton of time just jumping in quicksand. You're like, nope, died again.
That's how you found stuff, though. Yeah. What a like. I know a lot of people debate what is the best 2D Mario. Is it Mario Brothers 3 or is it Super Mario World? And I'm like, there's only one answer, Super Mario World. And if you don't think Super Mario World is the best, are you...
I'm going to have to agree.
Okay. Having said that...
It just did Super Mario Brothers 3 so much better.
So it did. Is it just like Super Mario Brothers 3 took the original Super Mario Brothers and pumped it full of steroids. And then Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario World pumped Super Mario Brothers 3 full of steroids.
I don't really think that it did. It just kind of refined what worked and didn't work.
Everything.
So, I mean, you got rid of a bunch of the power-ups. You introduced, Yoshi, which kind of was an interesting power-up to play with. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of the things that you could do in Super Mario Brothers 3 that just got taken out, and they didn't replace them with a bunch of things. They only put in, like, a couple new things, right?
Yeah,
the balloon where you float around and the different kinds of Yoshis.
Yeah.
Which are essentially just things your guy could do anyways, except for... the yellow one, which could pound sand.
Yeah, like they could do literally pound sand. But that's all it was. You're right. It took Super Mario Brothers 3 and it was like what worked, what didn't. Let's take the stuff that worked and shine it up and add to it. You know what I mean? Like, but without Super Mario Brothers 3, like it's impossible to say, but like if Super Mario Brothers 3 had just been another Super Mario Brothers, like if they had just done that same thing, but just with more levels maybe or something, like who knows what would have happened, like it was that game, like, I don't know if maybe I'll try to find the audio and I'll put it into the beginning of this podcast, but do you remember there was like a commercial for Super Mario Brothers 3 where they like made Mario's face like on the planet? They had all these different people like in Mario outfits, like dressed up, and they made like Mario's face.
No.
Yeah, and then they were like Super Mario Brothers 3. Like they hyped that game to the end of time.
It
and
honestly was. It's probably the best game that came out on the Nintendo.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's the absolute ace of the Nintendo rotation. It's like I don't feel for the most part the NES library has stood the test of time that well. There was a ton of junk on it.
There was a ton of junk.
Even the good games, like to me, when you look at some of the best games on the NES, I think of like The Legend of Zelda. I think of like the original Metroid, Castlevanias, the Ninja Gaidens.
I played a lot of Castlevania back in the day. I don't remember anything about it.
No, but like I've played some of them again on my NES Classic, and they're fun to play.
Yeah.
But like the Super Nintendo versions of almost all of them are the definitive and better versions. You know what I mean? They had more to work with. They did better.
Yeah. The very first Final Fantasy.
The first Final Fantasy.
One of the first games you could actually save on.
Yep, that's right. Same as Zelda.
Yeah.
Being able to save on Zelda, like it would have been impossible without it.
No, you could. There's no way you could play Final Fantasy without saving.
But when I look at the original Nintendo, I'm like, Super Mario Brothers 3 has absolutely stood the test of time. It's the absolute ace of the road. Like, for my money, Mario Brothers, like, I would say all three of the Mario Brothers games from the NES stood up pretty well. Mario Brothers 3 is the best one, but they all stood up. I think Punch-Out stood up.
Punch-Out, yeah.
The Mega Man games.
I personally am a big fan of Micro Machines. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yeah, I played Micro Machines. That was a good game.
That was a hard game to beat.
It was.
Because you had to start with, like... that was one of those ones where you pick a good character, and then you had to race against all the good characters at first, and as they slowly dropped out, you had to replace them with slightly better characters until you're only fighting. Because no matter what happened, the levels got harder, but also the computers got harder.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So eventually you're fighting like racing the three worst guys.
Yeah.
Trying to make it through.
It was like, yeah, there were some good games on it. There was a lot of garbage, just not a lot of games that stood up. And like, I think it's funny because I don't know if there's another console period that you can look at and almost universally agree on what the best game in that console's library is. You know what I mean? Like, I guess maybe you could say, no, I was going to say maybe people would say the Pokemon games on Game Boy. But if you're not an RPG person, you don't like Pokemon, then it's, you know, I just think that, like, to me, there's no argument. Like, I bet you if you asked 100 people, 90 plus would say the best game on the NES is Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
Like, they have to.
That game, and I'll repeat this for our next podcast, that game single-handedly destroyed the launch of the Sega Genesis.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It was that good.
It was that good. It stopped the launch of a new game system with better graphics. Mm-hmm. That's how good this game is.
It was fantastic. Okay, we'll wrap this one up and get into our other one. What would you give Mario Brothers 3 out of
10? Now or before? I would say now. That's still like, I would say like 8.75. I'll still play that game.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9. It's still better than platforming is my favorite genre, and it's still better than a ton of platformers that come out today.
I think it's better than the Super Mario Brothers Wii, even though you could have 4 people.
I could live with that. Yeah. The new Super Mario Bros or whatever. Yeah,
when you jumped on each other.
As far as 2D Marios go, it's
definitely
it's still number 2 right behind Super Mario World, but they're 1A and 1B.
Paper Mario. It's been forever since I've played Paper Mario.
Paper Mario's pretty good. But as far as just like the regular platformers go, it'd be it's untouchable. It's so good. It still looks good to this day. Like it's perfect. Go play it. Everyone that's listening to this has played it. If there's one game in all of the episodes of this show we're gonna do that I'm sure everyone has played it, it's Super Mario Brothers 3. But go play it again.
Yeah, play it.
Go play it again because it's fun.
I might do it when I get home. We'll see.
I'm actually jonesing to play it now too because it's perfect. Beautiful. Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
And that is going to do it for episode 16 of Remember the Game, you guys. Miklos, thank you so much for coming over. To all of you, thank you so much for listening. One more time, sincerely, thank you. If you enjoy it, please tell a friend. Let's share. Leave us a good review. I don't know what those accomplish, but all the good podcasts ask for them, so I'm going to do that too. And social media us up. Find us on Twitter at Member the Game. Find us on Facebook at Member the Game. We'll follow you back. We'll talk to you. Come talk video games with us. If you want to be on the show, shoot me a message. That's it, you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be back with you again in 7 days to geek out some more. All right? I'm going to go play some Super Mario Brothers. Fuck, that's such a good game. I'm going to go play Super Mario Brothers 3. Thanks, guys. Take it easy. Talk to you later. Cheers.